So,
Yeah.
firstly, thanks for joining me. I have so many questions when I think of correctional nursing, but I wanted to give you a little bit of background about why I'm doing this. So, I've wanted to do this for a long time, but life happens, mom life especially. But most
Yeah.
importantly, it's really to reignite the passion in nursing. I saw your page and I'm like, oh my God, correctional nursing? Like, I've got to hear more about this because you don't hear about it really. You don't even like see this stuff on TV. Like
Right.
once in a while in the hospital, I've had patients who were incarcerated, who came into the hospital, but otherwise, like I don't know the other side of it. There's just so many things that come to my mind about it, like questions, the curiosity of it all. Is it really what we think it is? I'm sure
I
it's
get that a
not.
lot.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So let's start. I want you to share with me how you even got here.
So I actually ended up doing corrections on accident. I didn't even know corrections was a specialty. In nursing school, I vaguely remember touching on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like a small little portion in our book. So in our state, I'm in the state of New Jersey. In our state, all of the state correctional facilities are contracted. So we're not hired directly through the DOC. It's a contract. And so I had received a phone call from the agency that contracts the company,
Mm-hmm.
and I did my entire interview with the company. It's a very well-known company, very established. And so I'm like, this is a great opportunity. Like, what do you have to offer? And they called and they're like, we have a great, job opportunity. You'd be working with primarily adult population. It's very clinic style. They did the whole phone part. And I'm thinking, yeah, sure, sounds great.
Right.
Not not realizing because I didn't apply. They picked up my
Uh,
resume off of like one of the Indeed or something.
right, right.
So I didn't really even know anything really about it. So I'm thinking, okay, adult population, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Then they said, would you be interested in moving forward with the in-person interview? I said, yeah, that'd be great. They said, okay, so you're going to come to this state prison. And I'm like,
Wait, what?
what? Prison? So I was like, okay, so now I'm like trying to keep my cool, like on the phone. And I was like, okay, Grace. Got off the phone, finished the phone interview. And I went to my then husband, who was a police officer, and I said, did you know they have nurses in prison? He's like, yeah. I didn't know this. Like, this is all news to me. He's like, oh, yeah, that's actually like the safest job you could ever have. Like, oh, are you interviewing? I said, yes. He's like, oh, well, definitely go check it out. I was like, okay. So I had no idea what it was about. I didn't know anything about prison. I mean, why would
Right.
I? So I actually YouTubed the prison that I was going to be going to. Big mistake. Because YouTube made it sound like there's fights every day, everyone's
Right.
getting shanked,
Yeah.
it's so bad. So I almost didn't even go because I got so scared. Yeah, but I did go and it was totally different than what I thought it was going to be. It's not all the crazy drama. I mean, we have our moments, but it was completely different environment than I expected when I actually showed up.
So you just said that it could be one of the safest places actually for a nurse. And how so? Explain that to me.
So we're never alone with our patients.
Okay.
So our patients are the incarcerated population, inmates. So we're actually never really alone with them. We have custody, and in our state, the corrections officers are they're police. They have full police powers,
Okay.
and they're at our side all the time. There's moments when we need privacy, for patient, confidentiality, but they're right outside the door. So if
Okay.
any tones of voices or anything escalates, they can hear that and they will be right in there so quickly and they will shut anything down that seems like it's escalating
Right.
in any sort of way. And then as far as like safety, again, like they keep everybody secure. Everything's very organized and structured. Everybody moves with appointments only.
Okay.
We don't have patients just walking in and out of the clinic knocking on doors. They have to be let out. They have to have an appointment. Everything is very structured because they need to know where everybody is at any given time.
Okay.
So it's actually very safe.
Yeah, so when you say clinic, explain that to me. You mean within the jail?
Correct. So every prison has its own building, essentially, that's strictly medical. So within that building, we have several different rooms. So we have a triage room, we have a treatment room, we have doctor rooms, we have everything inside the prison. A lot of people don't realize this. We have medical, we have dental, we have mental health, we have physical therapy. In the female prisons, we have GYN, we have optometry. So we have all these different
Special.
aspects of medical that all work within the prison. We have a mammogram tuck that comes to the female prison, I think once or twice a month.
Wow.
Yeah, so we do as much as we can on site, to maintain their chronic care
Mm.
as well as like acute trauma bites and whatnot.
Okay. So basically it's almost like an urgent care as well as like a primary within.
Correct.
I see. And so tell me
Yeah.
at what point does a patient get sent out to the hospital?
So if they need some higher level of care that we can't do in-house, specifically certain types of imaging that can't wait. So we can do x-rays on site.
Mm-hmm.
We do ultrasounds on site. But if it's something that needs to be done right now, urgently, we'll send them out.
I
We
see.
do all of our labs on site. We do all of our stat labs on site.
Yeah.
But if it's something that requires, immediate emergent, we send them out to the nearest emergency department.
Gotcha. And can you give like IV antibiotics and you can.
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
it's kind
So
of like skilled, like
right.
okay.
Kind of do it all.
Yeah.
That's actually where I learned how to draw blood and start IVs, which really helped me when I transitioned temporarily to the emergency department. I did do 2.5 years at a level 1 trauma.
Hmm.
And, the first part of working in the ER is learning how to get your IVs.
Right.
And I came prepared. I already knew how to do
Right,
that.
right.
So that was one less thing. Yeah,
Okay, so what I'm hearing is it's nothing like I thought because what we see on TV is like the nurses are passing meds in a cup at a window, you know? And
literally. So we do that
okay, I
too.
was gonna say, what about like just the daily meds? How do patients get meds, or are you part of
Right.
that?
So there's
You
yeah.
are. Okay.
So we have LPNs that work with us as well, and we also have med techs, which help significantly with just doing a med pass,
Yeah.
which is just great. But yes, we do hand out meds. So all of the patients, there's two levels of medications. There's what we call the keep on person, which is the ones that they take and they just keep them in their room with them and they can take them responsibly. And then we have the direct observation, which we call DOT, direct observation therapy. And those are the ones that need to come to the window to get their medications for multiple reasons.
Sure.
Either it's a controlled substance, we don't want that floating around, or they were at one point diversion, cheeking it, using it for other
Yeah.
reasons, using medications too much or too little. So we just want to, a lot of times you start a patient on a new cardiac medication, maybe we'll want to ensure that they're taking it properly. So come to the window, get in the habit, and then we can give it to you to keep with you.
And what about like the PRN meds?
So again, it depends. If they're allowed to have it, great. We'll give it to you. Take it as you need it. If they can't, then they do still need to come to the med line to get
I
their
see.
as needed medication.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And so, aside from this topic, what's your typical day like? Like, how does that happen? It sounds like it's pretty well coordinated.
It
Yeah.
is. We can kind of gauge how the next day is going to be the previous day because everything's
Mm,
scheduled. So, like I said before, the patients can't move without some sort of appointment. So, unless it's an emergency, they need an appointment to go anywhere. And all those appointments are made the day before, or days in advance, weeks in advance, depending on what it is. For multiple reasons, the officers have a movement sheet. They can see everybody's. These are the patients that are scheduled for labs. These are the patients that are scheduled for the doctor. These are the patients that are scheduled for the nurse. So as an RN, we also have, it's called an infirmary. That was a new term to me. I didn't know what that was. I thought it was something from like an old movie. I'm like, an infirmary? That sounds creepy.
yeah, it does.
But it's like doesn't it? It's like
Yeah.
an in-house like hospital. So we have an infirmary, a little hospital that has 10 beds. So patients who cannot go back to GP, can't go back to their rooms for whatever reason, they're getting IV antibiotics or, they're, in physical therapy with a cane things like that. So as a nurse, we need to make sure that those patients are taken care of. So we take care of them. The RN also, we do a lot of, they're called nurse calls. So before a patient even gets to a doctor, they see a nurse first, and we kind of assess, do they need to see the doctor,
Yeah, like
or can we
triage.
handle your
Hmm.
correct? And
Gotcha.
there's a lot of nurse protocols. There's a lot of things that we can do. A lot of the basic over-the-counter type things, a common cold, um, I have a rash, I have hives, basic wound care. I got bit by an insect last night and it's itching, or, little things like that. For the females, they have, female issues that
Yeah.
they want to talk about.
So there's autonomy there.
Right.
Gotcha.
Which I love.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that. Which was a transition when I went into
Right.
the hospital
Yes.
because, someone says, "Hey, I have a headache. Can I have something for that?"
Right.
Yeah, sure.
But
But not in the hospital.
yes.
You need a doctor's
Yes.
order. Yeah.
Everything needs an order. Right. And so this in
Right.
this location, it's not like that in the environment.
Right.
Okay.
There's an order, but it's written by the RN. The
I
RN
see. So
writes the
you can write the
orders.
order.
Okay.
Are inmates allowed to have hospice?
Yes. So there are two levels of that. We do have a facility in one of our prisons down south. I haven't personally worked there, but it is a long-term care facility. So that's where they actually, I believe they have CNAs there as well, that take care of patients who are bedridden, bedbound, can't get up, they're passing away, whatever, the case may be for that patient. We also offer something in our state. It's like a medical clemency. So once it gets to the point where we know they're not going, they have a month to live, 2 months to live, whatever
Oh,
it
I see.
is. You're right. They can, a judge can order that they can get released. And a lot of times they get released to like a rehab facility or
Really?
family.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Do they need
Yeah.
like monitoring still, or like
Nope.
they don't?
Nope. Nope. They get fully released. They're free to go.
Like
But
despite
their life is
limited.
they're not going to live.
I
Right.
see.
Like I think the two people that I've seen in the last 5 years who got the clemency, the medical clemency. Actually, I've seen like three or four. One of them, two of them didn't make it. They succumbed to their illness. One of them, I have no idea
Mm.
what happened. We
They
don't
just
know.
sent them
Actually,
out.
two of them. Yeah.
I
So
see.
one I think went to a rehab.
So, but in order to go to the rehabs, it's not really a local one, it's a specialized one, you're saying? It's
It's
any.
whatever they choose. Yeah, if they're released, I mean, they can go where they want to go.
And so hospice
Yeah.
care can't be provided within the jail.
So they can. There's that one site down south that we transfer people to if
Oh,
they
I
need it.
see. I see. So you would
But
transfer them.
if they qualify, I mean, we're not letting out, dangerous
Right.
patients.
I
Most of
see.
these are very elderly, very frail. I think one of the patients that ended up getting released had bilateral above the knee amputations,
Mhm.
diabetic,
Yeah. Yeah.
things like
Right.
that.
Right. I see what you're saying. So it's
Right,
very individualized.
right,
Okay. And
right. Oh, there's an entire team that assesses all of that.
okay. And like as far as deaths go within the jail, how does that work? If it's a planned or an expected?
If it's expected, they'll most likely be sent out.
I
In
see.
the last, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We kind of know, and that would be a reason where we say it's time for them to go out. We don't do palliative care, so if the patient wants to sign a DNR, DNI, and they're ready to just, we're going to send them out to the. We have a hospital that specifically works with our
I
prison,
see.
and they have like a corrections unit
Mm.
on one of their floors, so the inmates can go there.
Oh, wow.
There's an officer that sits outside, like, the elevator,
Hmm.
so it's all DOC.
I see.
So they can go there.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's urgent, they'll go to the hospital,
Right.
but
Right. I see. So, oh, okay.
yeah.
So you said that you got this job sort of by accident. And so when was that moment that came to you that you felt like this is where you're supposed to be?
Uh, so pretty quickly, actually, when I saw all the things that we could do, it gave me the emergency department feels,
Mm.
but at a much different pace. So in the emergency room, the moment you walk in, you're go, 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 and you don't stop moving until you go home. Here, you come in, most of the inmates, when you first walk in are still in lock. They're still in count. So you have that 30 minutes, 45 minutes of like a moment to breathe when you first walk in. Um, Set up your day, kind of see what's going on. But then we jump right into everything. So again, we're doing triaging, we're doing blood work, we're doing all the things that you would do in a hospital, carrying direct patient care, but at a slower pace. We also have, well, custody has like counts throughout the day that they have to do. And in those moments, all the patients have to go back to their housing units for that period of time. It's typically about 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, depending on, what's going on. So again, you get that built-in downtime to just breathe,
Right.
catch up on your charting.
Yeah.
So I really liked that. I really enjoyed that. All of the skills that we learned in school we're using. And then I did venture out and I said, if I could do this, let me go to the ER. And I did. And I enjoyed it. But I found myself back here in corrections.
I feel like there's because of the population, it's so specific in a sense where, you know, the humanity in it all, right? And so
Right.
tell me about a time or a patient story that really stayed with you during your career as a nurse.
There's a few.
I bet.
So a lot of times we're the only healthcare professional that these patients are going to see.
Mm.
For whatever reason, they found themselves in a situation where they weren't getting care. And I truly enjoy that because I feel like you can really have an impact on their life in a positive way, whether, we're trying to figure out why this person is feeling a certain way, and then we were able to diagnose them with X, Y, and Z,
Hmm.
treat them, and then make them feel better. And I love that. I think a lot of it though is the rapport that we have with our patients. I know, and this is actually not even nursing skills, but it's just being a nurse in general. We had one patient, this patient was a problem, was always getting into fights, spent a lot of time in our ADSEG unit, and this patient recently got out of the lock and is now in GP. And to see their behavior and change so dramatically, and this patient is calmer, nicer, um, you she's just more aware of like her as a person, her health, her mental health, everything. And this patient even said to me not too long ago, Nurse V, like you've always been there for me. Thank you. And I really, 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 really appreciated that. Just, seeing an entire change in a person from what they were 5 years ago
Yeah.
to where they're at now
Yeah.
is huge.
Yeah, and for a lot of nurses, we don't get that continuity, so you get to see some of these people, over a very long time and
Right.
their change, whether that be for better or worse, but your impact on
Mm,
them most certainly, you can see that. So I think
yeah.
that's important too. And I can imagine, with these individuals, what is it like to try to build their trust?
So with this population, it's consistency is one of the biggest things.
Mm,
You need to be consistent from the moment you walk in throughout your entire career. That's the biggest thing.
mm.
So you can't let one person get away with one thing and then not do it for somebody else.
Yeah,
Maybe you
yeah,
have a better rapport with this patient, or maybe you have a great rapport with a patient and they said, Nurse B, you always do this. Can I have X, Y, and Z? I know you and I know you're not trying to take advantage, but I still can't do it.
right. Yeah,
So that's the biggest thing is consistency, doing what you say you're going to do.
yeah.
Is another thing. And yeah, I mean that's really the biggest thing.
Yeah,
Consistency and
following
doing what
through.
you say you're
Yeah.
going to do.
Yeah, I can
Right.
imagine. Yeah, especially because they see you so often and
Right.
so yeah, and these patients they can talk to each other and like hear like, Nurse
Yep.
V did this for me and then
Right.
gotcha. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yep. And as long as you're following policy, and I will tell them straight up, oh, this nurse did it for me last night, or that nurse did it for me yesterday. That's great. Whether they were right or wrong, I'm not going to get involved with that.
Yeah.
But for me and my license, these are my policies, these are our rules, and I'm not going to break it.
Yep.
If I could, I would, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
And they respect that.
Yeah.
They respect it.
That's good. Yeah. And I think that that earns your respect so they can,
Right.
yeah. So, okay,
Yeah.
so empathy and judgment.
Hmm.
Now, I can imagine with this population, many people of society are not empathetic, nor do they, there's lots of judgment passed. And
Right.
so, how do you stay grounded with your empathy and non-judgment?
So as nurses, we don't judge
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
right? Like you said, you've had interactions with incarcerated patients even in the
Yep.
hospital. So even if we got a patient in the hospital who's incarcerated, we're not going to treat them any different.
Yeah.
And as far as within the prison system, we treat patients. That's it. It's
Right.
patients. So
Yep.
regard, I don't refer to them as inmates.
Right.
I refer to them as my patients. Every once in a while, I'll say client, that'll slip out,
Yeah.
but they're my
Right.
patients. Um, and we're not there to judge, so we don't judge in the first place. And then at the end of the day, regardless of what they've done, and I know it sounds like they're getting so much care that typically we have to pay hundreds of dollars for,
Hmm.
and they're just getting it left and right. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I get to go home,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
They're getting this treatment, they're getting that treatment, we're doing this for them. It's great, but at the end of the day, I get to say goodbye, good night, and go home. And that's something that they're not getting.
No.
And we get a week to go on a vacation. We get to spend time with our kids. We
Absolutely.
get to spend Christmas morning with our children. We get to enjoy Thanksgiving, turkey with all of our extended family,
Yeah.
and they're still there.
Yeah.
So, it kind of changes how you view things,
Right.
especially, when you're working with them. And
Yeah.
even little things like they'll say, Happy Mother's Day. And I'm like, Happy Mother's Day to you too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and then you feel bad,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
or, Happy Father's Day.
Right.
It's nice, but then at the same time, you know, I don't know what they did. I don't need to know what they did. It doesn't change the way that we interact.
Right. Right.
They've already been judged.
You're
They've already
right.
got their
Yeah,
sentence.
so
They've already been
like
judged,
literally. Yeah.
literally. Right.
Right, right. That's
So,
yeah. That's heavy. I feel like I'm a very like empathetic, sentimental person, and as a mom especially, it's like
right.
that just like it cuts deep, especially because you don't always know why they're there, but at the end of the day, they are a mom, and so how do you sort of, there's a lot of emotional weight in that. So how do you
Earth.
kind of leave that at work?
I've always been really good about leaving work at work. I don't really talk about, other than social media and content, I don't really talk about work at home.
Hmm.
I have a whole different life at home with my kids, being a mother. I'm a Disney adult.
Love
Some
that.
people think that's weird.
No,
And
not
so
me.
I'm a huge into like the Disney community and live streaming and traveling. So I have a whole different life. And
Yeah.
as soon as I leave work, I clock out, I'm on my phone, and like a different life starts.
No, I think that's great. I'm finding that as a theme, and especially as like a newer nurse, I think it's harder to do. But then as we have our experiences and realize like, okay, there's gonna be lots of traumatic days, I
Right.
have to like actually shut it off, and
Right.
we have other outlets.
Right. So that goes back to Tuesday. We had plans to record this
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Tuesday, and my day went to complete opposite direction of what I had expected. And, I ended up not leaving work till very late. And I couldn't even like rush home and do this podcast and have this conversation, because days like that are
Yeah.
days you just want to go home and just be like, I just want to shut my brain off
Absolutely.
and like not think.
Yes. Yeah. Some days you just don't want to talk about work, no matter, even if there's
Yeah.
things that you feel like you need to vent about, you just
Right.
physically and mentally can't do it. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. I
Right.
think I think that goes for every type of nursing too, because it's
Every
heavy. Yeah,
specialty.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel that working in a jail has changed the way you see nursing or even life is generally?
Um, it definitely made me more aware and more understanding of a lot of different things um, pertaining to, first of all, like law and crime.
Mm,
Um, and then as well as like there were a lot of things that never really paid attention to, I guess, in my younger days, such as substance abuse.
mm,
Never really paid attention to that until I got into the prison system and I saw how much not only is substance use or abuse an issue, but it lands them in jail.
yeah,
A lot of our patients are here because of drug related crimes. And then also mental health. There was a lot of, I did not realize how intertwined mental health and the justice system are connected. And, it really, I've learned a lot about that as well. If you had asked me, and if you still ask me if I'd ever do psych nursing, no. But then at the same time, I'm like, I do this every
yeah,
day.
right.
I really do.
Yeah, right, right. So can you explain that more to me? Like, what do you, when you say you didn't realize how much mental health and the justice system?
So there's just a lot, I personally feel, this is just my personal opinion, that there is a lot of patients whose crimes are directly related to, I think, their untreated mental
Yeah.
health. And, once they come to us, they're assessed by our doctors. We start, reeling in a lot of like their mental health
Mm,
issues. They're it's completely different people, whether it's somebody who's severely depressed, overly anxious, ADHD, bipolar, schizophrenic. We've seen it all.
yeah.
Anger management, all of those things. Just feeling like they're misunderstood,
Oh God, yeah, yeah,
any of those things.
yeah.
Once we start, and then you realize, like, did you do what you did because you were untreated, you were
Absolutely. Yeah.
unmedicated?
Wow.
Even like drugs, like they're committing these crimes because they want these drugs. So
Right.
let's focus on, that issue,
Yeah.
reel it back in, and let's get you out of here rehabilitated and don't come back in a nice way.
Right.
We say
Yeah.
don't come back.
Yeah. I think a lot of, even in the hospital, like, see you on the outside.
Yeah.
I'm getting like goosebumps thinking about this because we've had to do this for someone in my family
Hmm.
with schizophrenia, but
Hmm.
oftentimes they don't listen to loved ones.
Right.
No matter how hard you try, and then it becomes a scene where the police are involved and the person
Right.
is arrested and they're brought to
Right.
the hospital. But I could have, who knows?
Not the right place for them.
Yes, exactly. And then they're in the ER, and they're on the psych hold, and you're waiting days, and
Right.
then they're admitted to a psych inpatient, but they've already been medicated, with like Zyprex or whatever you may,
Right.
usually in the ED, But it certainly could have become a point where my family member went to jail. I mean,
Right.
and again, it
Right.
was just like a psychotic break, and
Right.
obviously it's a very long story, but it's an
Yep.
exact example. Like that person doesn't belong in
Hmm.
jail, but
Right.
that's a problem in the system. And I
It
say
is.
the
So
system,
yeah. Well, it's a
yeah,
countrywide issue. Fortunately, in our state, we do have a very, very strong and amazing mental health program within the state prisons. And a lot of our state prisons have specialized units strictly for our mental health patients.
mm,
So we do try, because again, and our, department agrees that their mental health, these patients don't belong in the prison. They
right,
need a different, do they need to, serve time for their crimes?
yeah,
Absolutely, but in a different
yeah,
way,
yeah.
and we do offer that, and I think that's amazing.
Mm.
I've definitely covered some shifts in that department. Not my favorite,
Yeah.
but it is different. It's a different tone, it's a different pace.
Yeah.
You're face to face with patients, and I'm like, why are you here? You're so sweet. You're so nice. Like,
Yeah.
what
Oh,
happened?
right. Yeah.
And they were
Right. They were
unmedicated.
different people, really.
Right, 100%.
And I'm just thinking, what about your nurse to patient ratio? How does that work?
So it really depends. It depends on the time of day, first of all, because, like, let's be realistic. We need less nurses in the night shifts because they're all locked in their cells.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
not moving around, they're not walking around. We have a bulk of our appointments and the patient movements are on the day. So we're going to have more nurses during the day because we have patients moving in, they have different places that they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And not even just medical. They go to school, they go to work, they do whatever they have planned for the day where they can get hurt and injured, and we need to respond. We have patients who work in kitchen. So if they get burned
Mm.
or, patients who work the lawn crew. So if they're mowing the lawn and, something happens or whatever it is, it's an entire
Yeah.
community in there. So we do have a lot more nurses on day shift. It really depends on the prison. One prison I worked at, we had 12, 13 nurses. Another prison, we had five. So it really
Like the
depends. It
size of the
depends on
entirety of the prison.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. It depends on how many beds we have in the infirmary. So we have 10
Mm-hmm.
beds. If it's completely swamped, it's full, every bed is full, they're high acuity patients, we're going to have an LPN help out with the RN, even if it's just get vitals or
Right.
whatever. Can you help with this wound change? We do wound backs.
Mm-hmm.
We do.
Yeah. Were you working in corrections during COVID?
I was.
Tell me a little
I
bit
was.
about that.
That was wild.
I can't imagine.
Right. So it was there was very limited movement at that time. Very limited movement. So most of the times, we had everybody was on their units and we would go to them as opposed to them coming up to us because we were trying not to cross
Yeah.
contaminate.
Yeah.
Um, that was we would send two nurses down to the COVID unit to get all the vitals, hand out meds,
So
do
there was a
all
COVID
our
unit.
daily assessments. We had a COVID
Okay.
unit. We actually had two at one point. And then, if units had to be quarantined together or this unit's isolated, this unit's quarantined, these patients are on the active positive COVID, they went to the COVID unit. So that was a wild time.
Yeah.
We lived there. We
Right.
really
I
did.
can't
We were
imagine.
we were there 16, 20 hours a day.
And you guys,
Um,
did you guys have ever have a breakout?
but we had a handful of people who had to go out. They were intubated, they were ICU,
Mm.
they were sent out. So once they were stabilized and cleared to come back, they came back to us and we maintained whatever we could on site.
As far as like goals of care, the patients, do you ever collaborate with their families in regards to things or?
So no, that is they want to
Yeah.
and they call, but so our patients are actually, it's called like they're wards of the state.
Right.
So we don't even have the authority to tell a family member if their loved one is there or is not there. It's a
So you
whole
cannot confirm or
process.
deny.
Correct.
Okay.
So, which that was a big deal during COVID
Right.
because, they're getting phone calls from their loved one. Let's say, it's their sister calls every day, calls every day, calls every day. Then she goes into isolation. She's positive COVID. Now she's not calling every day. Now
Uh,
mom's calling or sister's calling or whoever's calling. What's going on with patient so and so? I haven't heard from them. We can't say, like, is she still there? Is she in the hospital? We can't give that information
wow.
for security reasons, really, and legal reasons.
Yeah.
We can't say where they're
Yeah.
at.
So that's so difficult because even in the hospital, that can be hard, right? But I feel like
Right,
although you can sort of call the front desk and confirm the patient's
right.
there.
It's hard because we also have hearts.
Right.
So we have, a daughter who's calling to check up on their mom.
Right.
I know where the mom is. I just want to say so bad, like, mom's okay or
Yeah.
dad's okay.
But not even that.
And we can't.
Right.
Right,
Wow.
right.
And that's for every
So,
situation, even aside from COVID in general.
right,
Wow.
right.
Wow. And
Yeah.
how about
So,
if, say, someone has like, so I'm just trying to think of legal and like
mhm,
some people have guardians. Some people cognitively cannot make their own decisions. So since
right.
they're a ward of the state, how would that work? Like as far as for treatment or, DNR versus
So,
full code.
right. So that would take place with the doctors, most likely. I'm not 100% sure, to be
Mm,
honest. We have had a patient recently, they wanted to. stop all treatments. They weren't physically with us though. They were in the hospital and they wanted to stop all treatments and they said, I'm ready to just pass away. Like I'm done. And, I was the nurse that took that call. Custody was calling and saying patient so and so wants to come back, like they're done. So I can't make that decision. That has to be signed with a doctor. There's a whole lot of different things that have to take place to sign a DNR and a DNI. Number one. Number two, I can't even accept a patient from a hospital, even though they're our inmate. I can't accept them until a doctor has to accept that patient and accept their care
Like clear
and
them.
say, correct, like they are cleared to come back here and we will, you know, so I'm not really sure what happened. That patient never did come back. They ended up signing a DNR, DNH, sorry, DNR, DNI, and they ended up passing away
Hmm.
peacefully.
Yeah.
So we don't do that.
Right. There's no like follow up or right.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that makes sense. All right. So if you could go back and tell yourself, your younger
hmm
self, one thing before starting this specialty, what would it be?
Uh, what would I tell myself? I would tell myself to do it. Definitely do it because I almost didn't.
Yeah, I
And I'm
bet.
so glad that I did.
Yeah.
Definitely do it and be ready to honestly have this career, this specialty change you.
Yeah.
So, I didn't realize how much I would change, not in a bad way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still who I am,
Mm-hmm.
but I've grown a lot.
Yeah.
And, just be open and do it and soak in everything. It's not for everybody. It's not for
Sure.
everybody. We get a lot of people who come in and they say, we've had people walk out on their breaks. They've gone on their break and they've never come back. And we're
Yeah.
like, did they leave? We call like the front main gate and we're like, did you see this person leave? They're like, yeah, they left.
Yeah, that might happen a little bit more in your specialty, maybe. Although I that's happened in others, of course, but
Yeah.
and
A little unprofessional. Let's not do that.
yeah, I mean, you
But
could just say something.
you could just say, this is not for me. I'm
Yeah, like
going
it's as
home.
simple as that, right? And now you're
But
like, sure. What do
yeah.
you think?
Yeah, I know.
What do you think about for those who, either new nurses or someone who's just burnt out? What would you say to encourage them to go into your field?
So for new nurses, definitely check it out. I think you will learn a lot. I've heard so many people say, oh, you're going to lose your skills. Don't go into prison nursing.
All the
No, you're
time.
not. You're going to use them all the time. We don't have a code team. We don't have a Lucas.
Mm.
If you are doing CPR, you're using your hands and you're actually doing, we
Mm.
don't have respiratory. We're
Mm.
doing it all. We had a 3, 4 patient code within the first 2 weeks of my working in prison. And we
Wow.
were doing compressions, breathing, the whole 9 yards. You're going to use your skills. We don't have pumps. So if we're setting IVs, we're doing the dial flow and
Oh my
all
God.
that stuff you learn in nursing school. We have, Dynamaps and we can get all the blood pressures, all that. But if we have to respond to a code and we're on a unit,
Hmm.
we're using our blood pressure cuff and your stethoscope.
Right.
So
Assessment skills.
correct. You are going to do all the skills that you learned in nursing school. You're going to learn it all. You're going to learn more and you're going to learn it at a much slower pace. And I think that's great. So if you'd
Right.
like to venture out into the emergency room, ICU, you're going to learn your meds. You learn your meds. You learn their generic names, their trade names, their street names,
Yeah.
names that I didn't even know they were.
Yeah. Wait, give us
You learn
give
all
us
of your
some. You
meds.
gotta give us some.
Red dragon. Can I get my red dragon?
What is
What the heck is
that?
a red dragon? Trileptal, and it's not even red.
What?
Caddies, which is catapress. Wellies, which is Wellbutrin. Bennies is a Benadryl.
Oh, wow. I've heard of
Yeah,
footballs as gabapentin.
I can see that. That's
I,
their shape. We learn all their shapes, colors, capsules, tablets. They'll be like, I want that. Don't put that blue one in there. Don't put that blue one. Okay,
yeah.
we'll hold your oxybutin. Got it. Like we just learned, which was great because I was working in the emergency room one day, and a patient came in. I don't know if she was homeless or if she was from a group home or something. And she said, I have seizures. And I said, okay, are you taking medications for that? She's like, I take something. I don't know what it is. It's yellow and it looks like this. I was like, Keppra. Like I know what it is because I see it all the time.
Yeah. God, I don't.
So
And
yeah, so
depending on where you
you'll
work, the
learn.
pharmacy, right? Like they provide different. different
Yeah, yeah.
pills. So you're
Yep,
like,
they come in different, they change different
yeah.
colors, they come in different colors. Um, so definitely check it out. I think it's a great controlled
Hmm.
environment, a good pace to learn, if that's something that you want to try. If you're burnt out, bring your skills and bring them here. You're going to be fine. Absolutely going to be
Hmm.
fine.
And like you said,
Yeah,
you're safer here than anywhere else. I mean, the
100%.
hospitals and everywhere else really isn't. So,
Yeah,
yeah. Is
yeah.
there like a certain if an inmate or a patient tries to harm you?
That's just like, that's going to be a problem.
Right, that's my question. Like, is there a certain like consequence, or like are they
Oh,
no longer?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, depending on the offense, that patient could get shipped to another
Oh
prison. I have a
wow.
keep separate from a patient who he tried to put his hands on me, and he was shipped out that same day
Wow.
and went to another prison. And, there's a keep separate. So, if I decided I want to go work at prison C and he's there, they're going to ship him out
Really?
because you're right, because I can't have direct care over him
Wow.
because of what he
I
did. So
see.
that's not always the case. It doesn't always happen. It really kind of depends, but they could get, you know, AdSeg time or, we try our best,
What
but
was that?
they don't always move. They don't always go to other prisons. It really depends
No,
on
no,
what
no.
it
The
is.
ad set. Is that what you said?
Yeah, so AdSeg is like administrative segregation, also known as like the restorative housing unit. It's a separate like lock unit for
Hmm.
patients who or for inmates who, are being punished.
Oh, I see. I see.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So it's very strict, clearly.
Yeah. But at the same time, even if they disrespect us, they call us names, they curse us out,
Yeah.
we don't take it personally. You're going to curse us out one day and then you're going to be asking us for help the next
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And we're still going to do it.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah. And that goes for even the hospital
yeah.
or yeah.
Mhm.
So tell me, what do you think you wish more people could understand about your role and maybe some misconceptions?
Yeah. So misconceptions are huge. It's just, oh, you just pass out meds all day and that's
Yeah.
it. And that's really
No
not what
way.
it is at all. It's a lot more moving parts to working in corrections. That's the biggest thing. And the other thing is that, and I hear this a lot, is that, oh, you couldn't get jobs in a real hospital. You couldn't get a
Really?
real nurse job. Oh my gosh, people say that all the time, especially on the internet community or
Yeah.
even inmates say that, they get mad. You're not even a real nurse. I'm like, I'm not. So we sat for the same board of nursing as everybody else in our state. We took the same test. And a lot of us do have second jobs in hospitals.
Mhm.
We have nurses who work here and they also work, ICU, they
Right.
work ER, they work the OR. So we all have a lot of things. I know a lot of doctors who have their own private practice and then they come work here
Yeah.
like on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we're very real nurses.
Right.
We do very real nursing. Yeah. So, and I'd really want to see this become more of a talked about specialty.
Yeah,
Nobody
absolutely.
really talks about it.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk to you for sure.
Yes, I'm so glad.
So, what do you think's next for you? Like, or what would you hope for correctional nursing?
So, for me personally, I want to continue my education. I do want to pursue a master's in education, and I would really like to start teaching correctional nursing for nursing, whether it's like a workshop or a boot camp for new nurses who just signed a contract or signed
Hmm.
up for, correctional nursing, or maybe someone who's interested. I would really love to like move in that direction. I really would like to see corrections be a, talked about
Yeah.
specialty such as the ER, labor and
Right.
delivery, med surge.
Yeah. So just weight raising awareness.
Right.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
If you could change anything about correctional nursing, what would it be?
If I could change
Yeah,
anything,
I'm curious.
yeah,
I think especially
I
because there's
really,
legalities are so highly involved, you know?
right. I don't know if I would change. My experience has been so good. I think the main thing I would change would be us, the staff, as the nurses ourselves,
Hmm.
and maintaining professionalism. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I know we get very relaxed,
Yeah.
because it's their home, right?
Yeah.
That's where they live.
Hmm.
And it's like, we're going to someone's, living quarters. And I think over time we get very lax
Yeah.
on how we present ourselves, how we talk. We might wake up and say like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't have time to do my anything on my face or do my hair. Oh, who cares? I'm just going to jail." But if we're the only professionals that these patients are ever going to see, can we give them the respect of at least wake up, brush your teeth, look presentable, and let's give them that respect of being a professional because that's
Yeah.
exactly what we
That's
are.
true.
And you wouldn't go to the hospital like that, so don't come here like that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying go full glam because that would be totally inappropriate at the same time.
It's okay if you want,
But
but
at least
yeah.
we're not looking, our scrubs aren't dirty, and
Yeah.
let's be the professionals and let's set that example and let's give them that
Right.
respect of at
That's
least,
what it comes down
even if
to.
it's a respect for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are your days typically 8-hour shifts or 12s
Me personally,
or
like 16. uh
oops,
It
sorry, I
depends.
asked.
Yes. So we are hired at 8. They did talk a
At
little
8.
bit about switching to 12s or even 10s,
Mm.
but we are currently at 8. That's not the same though for,
Everyone.
everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, it can change. I know a lot of nurses in corrections that do 12,
Oh, really?
but
There's
we do
no,
8.
okay. And usually if you stay late, is it typically because of staffing or
Um, Either staffing or I wanted to, or I had something going on, or I didn't get to finish something in the morning that I wanted to make sure it got done.
yeah. Yeah.
So I just said, let me just stay and finish this. 'Cause I said I was going to do it. Let me just finish it.
Yeah. Is documentation like very different than the hospital?
So it's not, but it's so important. So logistics wise, no. We use an EMR. We have, whatever system that we use, very similar. The difference is how you document because, especially in corrections, anything that you write can and will be used against you in the court of law, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
huge.
That's a lot more intimidating.
Yeah, yes. You want to just kind of assume everything's going to be used
Right.
at court one day, which, that's the whole saying, if you didn't document it, it didn't happen.
Hmm.
But at the same time, there's a balance of don't give too much information because now you're opening doors that you don't need to.
Right.
But you also need to be able to document and see the entire situation, interaction, whatever it is, in totality, in case you are brought to court in 2 years. I don't know what I did on October 18th of 2022.
Right.
I don't know. But if I documented it properly, I can say that's right. This happened, this happened, this happened, and it's written right there. So that's definitely, it's a fine line
Yeah.
of how to document, using subjective and objective is huge, huge. If they say it, I'm writing it.
Right.
I don't care. It could be baloney, but I'm still going to write it. And then I'm just going to write, objectively what I see.
Yeah.
And it gets tricky because we'll have a patient and they'll come in with a black eye and it's very obvious they were punched in the face. But they'll say, I fell off my bed. So how do we document that, right? Because we're not going to say like they fell
Yeah.
off their bed. Like we
Suspect.
know. Right. So, and then you also have custody who's writing their reports and they want to lock up the person who punched them in the face. They want to get that lockup because that's their job. Right. So they're saying, oh, can you document that their injuries don't match their story? We can't do that. That we can't write our own feelings or
Yeah. Right.
opinions. So it's really, really, really like tricky on
Hmm.
how you handle pretty much all of these
I see. Especially, so
situations.
what you're saying is like because there's consequences, right? Like
It
whereas like
depends.
for a patient, not so much in the hospital, right?
Right, right, right,
So
right.
like if
So,
go ahead.
so let's say a patient is punched in the face. They say they were fell off the bed, whatever. And, we document everything. Let's say in 2 weeks, that same patient is found stabbed and it's critical and like all this stuff. And they say, like, I told the nurse 2 weeks ago, da 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 da. Well, you said you fell off the bed,
Mm,
So then now it goes into, I mean, everything has to be, anything that happens, again, like our patients live with us. They're not in and then out. That's it. You never see them
right.
again. Anything that happens today could be readdressed in 3 weeks. could come back in 4 weeks, could come back in 2 years. Everything, every
Right.
interaction that you have, you just have to assume that you have to be able to readdress it at some point. It happens all the
So
time. I'll get
how do you
calls
handle
from
that?
management, document
You're documenting what
clearly,
they said and what you see?
100%. So, patient arrived to medical via escort, DOC, patient, presents with a black eye, bright, we do all that. It's the color, we were not going to say like it looks like it just happened, but we'll put the color.
Right.
It's still red,
Right.
because it wouldn't bruise
Right.
until tomorrow. So we put the
Mm.
color, any swelling, any drainage, all the things per patient statement. Patient fell off, and then we put in quotes per patient statement, they quote fell off their bed. So we're going to put what they said. Absolutely. We're going to put what we see.
Right. Right. So someone
So,
else who's reading it says, well, clearly you wouldn't have only redness or whatnot
right,
related to
right,
what you're
right.
saying it is. But that's not your place. As
Correct.
a nurse, that's not our place.
We don't
Yeah.
judge. Right.
Yeah.
You say you fell, you fell. That's
Right. This
cool.
is
So
this
then
is
in 2 weeks when they say, 2 weeks when they say, well, I told the nurse, I told them that I was assaulted. So
yeah.
actually, per your statement, you said,
Correct. Right. And
yeah.
so, but that other person does not get in trouble because they're
Well,
saying,
it depends. So it depends. So
okay,
a lot of times, let's say there was let's say custody suspect, because it's obvious,
yeah,
right? They'll pull the other person in, and then we do like a body assessment on that patient, get their statement. What's going on? Did anything happen? No, no, nothing happened. Okay, cool. Can we just look at your hands real quick? Is there any redness on their knuckles? Are there any scratches? Does it look like, this person has a scratch here, this person has a black eye? Now we're kind of putting together,
yeah,
well, where
but it's
where
still
did this come
factual,
from?
right? Right.
Correct. Yep, yep. You say nothing happened. I'm looking at, a scratch on your neck and bloody knuckles, but you say nothing happens. Okay, but this is what I'm seeing. And then custody does whatever they do.
Right, right. It's in their hands now.
Yeah.
Huh.
Right. Right.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Documentation is huge. Huge, huge.
Do you now, obviously, being in a state prison, you might get some like serious stuff. All right, I don't know the prison system well, but someone on the news,
Oh yeah.
people on the news, and
Yep.
like obviously you got to treat them all the same. And
Hmm.
but is there like a higher level, or like does that differ at all?
So you mean like we've had celebrities, we've had people who are on Snapped, they're on, 2020, they're on Dateline, they have podcasts, they have deep dives on the YouTube. We have all of that.
Mm,
But their classification within the prison system is solely based on like whatever custody does, whatever they classify them
mm,
as. It's strictly based on their crime, and that's how they're classified. So they could be, really, really popular, famous. You see them on the news, but they're a minimum, level patient. And then we can have other ones that's like, I've never heard of you. Why are you in a double lock?
so what does
So
that
it's
mean?
it's based on. So we have maximum security and minimum security, and then we have like our double lock units, which is like they've done something within prison, like they committed a crime inside prison, because they do that too.
Right.
So based on like I don't know how the classification works. That's a custody
And
thing.
it doesn't matter to nursing. Like that doesn't affect you because they're
Nope.
just coming to clinic, whether they're there or there. Okay.
Yep, yep, yep. That doesn't make any difference on us. The only difference it makes is whether custody is standing right next to them or not, whether they're going to stay in handcuffs or not. There's times when they come in and they have handcuffs and they can't be uncuffed because of whatever reason, their classification,
Uh,
they're dangerous. That's fine. Or, if we really need them to be uncuffed for whatever we need to do, we have to call a sergeant. They have to get approval. It's a whole process.
right. And that's why it's the safest place you can work.
That's why it's the safest place. Yep.
That makes sense now.
And that's why things take time. I could have one patient that I'm seeing for 20 minutes, and it's because we're sitting around waiting for a sergeant to
Mm,
come approve to get this movement. Something that could have taken 5 minutes in a
right,
hospital
right,
now takes 20,
right.
because it's a whole project. You got to shut the whole facility, shut the compound down to move that patient here and there, and it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
So like I said, It's a slower pace,
Right, right. But for that
but we
type of
still do
reason.
everything.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
interesting to me. Wow. Well, you
Yeah.
have like totally sort of blown my mind thinking I definitely, I'm not gonna lie, I think I was one of those people that like do they like just sit at those windows like the TV shows if anything
Yeah.
because like there's
Yeah.
nothing out there and that's why I'm like
Yeah.
I gotta know the
Yeah.
details here.
We do that too, though. That we have one of our prisons has a unit, and where they just administer the medications, and it's just like that. It's just like in a T. It's so weird. So they have a little glass, and then they have like this little. It looks like from like a bank,
Yeah,
like that little.
yeah.
But there's like a gate, so like
You
you have to like put your pill in and then close it before it can open on the other side so that they have no interaction with you. If they were to throw something, spit something, do anything, they can't have any access to you. And it's so weird. Like when I went there, I was like, this is so creepy.
yeah. I feel like that's like old
But
school like
very,
so that's and where are there ever like okay, so you back to like TV scenes. Are there ever moments where there are multiple inmates in one large area and then there's like a fight breaks out? Like are nurses
absolutely.
involved?
No.
Okay.
So, so yes and no. So that can happen either in the yard. It can happen in a dorm style room. Um, if there was something to happen, a fight, first of all, a fight we're not responding to. That's 100% custody. We don't respond to a fight. If there are injuries,
Hmm.
at that point, they would separate the patients who are injured from the fight and bring them to us.
Okay.
Or if we had to go to them, so the inmates are like they know what to do. Especially in the men's prison, if there's a fight in the yard and they call the code, they all know to either drop to the ground and put their hands behind their head if they're in like a, or they have these like caged gate areas within the yard that they all go into and they get locked in. So they're all secured before anybody can go in and respond and help the injured patients. Um, so before we even can do anything, and I'll tell you something, I did not know that. I responded to a code. I was responding to a code in a shower. The patient was injured. There was a fight in the shower. He had gotten stabbed, and I'm walking in like, okay, we're coming. I've got my, all the things. And I got slammed to the wall, not intentionally, but just a hand went out and like stopped me. And I was like, what the heck? And they're like, it was a sergeant. And he was like, the scene's not secured yet. And the patients aren't secured yet. You're not going in there. And that was like the first time I was like, that really clicked to me. Like, oh, like I
Right. I
can't
can't
just
just be running.
waltz in.
Yeah. Right.
Right, like, okay, we're here.
Yeah.
You called us. We're here. He's like, we called you, but you're gonna go in when we tell you.
Right, because like now you're
So,
like at the scenes now. And
right,
that's too
right. So,
dangerous. Like the weapon's still there or whatnot.
right. So they will handcuff the patient before they do anything. They assess the situation. Like, is the patient spitting? We'll put a spit mask on, whatever it is.
Mm.
So that I remember that one time going in
It
that
only
code,
took
getting
once.
slant. Yep, I never forgot that again. So,
Is there any
yeah.
different like equipment? I know you just said you can have spit masks, but is there anything different for you guys in the jails that like typically wouldn't be provided elsewhere?
Nothing really special for. So, yes, we have a restraint chair. That's
Hmm.
terrifying. I've only used it a handful of times. Thank goodness. I mean, we're not going to really use that in a hospital.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
they're restrained here, their legs. It's like
Wow.
a roller coaster type
Hmm.
thing.
Like
And,
beds, sort of.
yeah, yeah, like they click, click. The custody sets all that up. But we have to assess them when they're in the
Oh,
restraint chair.
so
There's a
you
lot
might
of
not
nursing
restrain them,
assessment. Correct.
but you are doing the assessment, like the
Right.
protocol in the
Yeah.
hospital, right? Like,
Right, right, right.
oh wow.
So, correct. Just like a restraint protocol in the hospital. Not fun. I don't like documenting it. It's not
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
But it doesn't usually get to that point. We can de-escalate the situation.
yeah.
But yeah.
That's amazing. And like I feel like you're so sometimes like in the hospital you're like call back up, like call the
Yeah,
security.
there is none. We are the
Yeah, and then
backup.
like 20 minutes later, some like, like small guy comes and you're like, oh, this is not like
Right,
the,
that's my
yeah, like,
backup.
but like in the
This
hot,
old retired.
yeah, like, oh, for God's sake, maybe my whole 5'2" self can do something better. But
Yeah, no, we've got amazing officers.
right, like you
We
definitely feel
have,
safe with those
yeah.
guys, like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, or
If they're
girls.
not, yep.
Yeah,
They're we have great officers.
that's
There's
great.
one facility in particular, one of our prisons, is kind of known for their fights, known for their,
Hmm.
their codes, and it's funny because we talk about the officers over there. Every single one of them are so fit. They're so fit. And we're like,
The
because they're
models.
always running. They're always running. They're always responding to the codes. They have to be.
Right.
You're talking about guys who are doing pull-ups and push-ups all day long. If
Wait,
they
are we
fight,
talking?
you got to fight with them.
Oh, so we're
So
talking about
they'll,
like the inmates. They're
right,
also
right.
like,
Well, the officers are so fit because they have to
keep
be
up.
ready. Right,
Right.
right, right.
I never
So we
knew
all
that.
was like, oh, that's where all the fit officers go.
Yeah, so maybe a lot of the nurses are like, that's the place I want to be. Well,
No, no.
we're not here for the officers then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Try not to look at them like that.
yeah. I have to say, as soon
So,
as you said like you're from Jersey, inmates, first thing in my head, which is probably too super stereotypical, is Jersey Shore. Like,
yeah.
oh my God, maybe she's from
Yeah.
Jersey. Ronnie was always in jail.
Yeah.
I don't know that,
Yeah.
all that. I'm like, I
A
totally
lot of
get it.
people ask. No, I watched it
Yeah.
too.
Oh God.
A lot of people ask about Joe Judice, Teresa
Yeah.
Judice.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, did
Yeah.
you have them?
Yeah.
But they were federal. They were federal. I'm state.
Totally. Yeah. Different type of
Right.
system there.
That was different.
Yeah. Well, this has been lots of fun.
Thank
And
you.
I've learned so much. I think it's going to be really cool to let everybody hear about this. And hopefully we'll have
Yeah.
you back too. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
there's more to